Hey, have you ever actually stopped to think about how you're making things happen on your screen? We're about to dive into the unsung heroes of our digital lives, input devices. Seriously, these are the tools that turn our intentions into actions. And their story, well, it's way more interesting than you'd probably guess.
I mean, think about it. Right this second, you're using one to follow along. Maybe you're using a mouse, or your finger on a touchscreen, or even just the keys on your keyboard. That simple, tiny action, it's the absolute foundation of everything we do in the digital world. So what is an input device, really? At its heart, it's basically a translator. It takes what you're doing in the real world, a click, a tap, a key press, and translates it into a language the computer can actually understand. You can almost think of them as the computer's senses. You know, its eyes, its ears, its ability to feel touch. That's how it knows what we want it to do.
All right, so today we're going to trace the evolution of these senses. We're going to start way back at the beginning with the clunky mechanical stuff and journey all the way to the future. A future where the line between just thinking about something and actually doing it gets really, really blurry. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Our journey kicks off with the original power couple, the keyboard and the mouse. For decades, these two were the absolute, undisputed kings of personal computing, and honestly, their influence is still massive today.
And this is wild. The QWERTY keyboard layout we all use, it was designed way back in 1868, and not for computers, but to solve a mechanical problem with old typewriters. It literally just kept the keys from getting jammed. And the mouse, the icon of the modern computer, it started its life in 1964 as a little wooden block with wheels. I mean, these ideas were so far ahead of their time, it's just incredible.
They were just the perfect team, right? The keyboard was for typing text, the mouse was for navigating the screen, and together they created that whole point-and-click world that basically made computers usable for, well, everyone. It was a game changer, and it's a system we're all still super familiar with.
Okay, so we figured out how to talk to computers, but what about showing them our world? The next big leap for input devices was all about bridging that gap between the physical, analog world and the digital one. It was about giving our machines a whole new way to see and hear.
This started all the way back in 1957. A guy named Russell Kirsch basically gave computers the gift of sight when he invented the scanner. Think about it. For the very first time, we could take something real, like a photo or a document, and just pull it right into the computer.
And to give computers an ear, we actually had to look to the past. The microphone, which was invented way back in 1877 for telephones, got a brand new life in the digital age. It's the reason we can record audio, and it's the ancestor of the tech that lets us talk to our smart assistants today.
Oh, and you're going to love this one. The webcam, the thing we all rely on for video calls, has a pretty hilarious origin. It was invented back in 1991 for a single critical purpose: to let computer scientists at Cambridge University see if the coffee pot in another room was full or empty. No joke. And from that incredibly important caffeine-fueled start, it became this essential tool we all use every day.
Now, the mouse and keyboard are great, but they're still kind of indirect, right? You're always one step removed from what's happening on the screen. So the next big evolution was all about closing that distance. It was about reaching out and literally touching the digital world.
And touchscreens are the perfect example. The early ones were resistive. You actually had to push down to make them work. That's why you often needed a stylus. But the screens we use now on our phones, they're capacitive. They just react to the tiny bit of electricity in your finger. It sounds like a small change, but it's the reason our phones feel so incredibly smooth and responsive.
But this idea of interacting directly with the screen has been around for ages. I'm talking light Kens in the 1950s, graphics tablets, the very first touchscreens in the 60s, and of course, the joysticks that took over arcades in the 70s. We've always been trying to find better, more natural ways to connect. And things like the modern digital styluses we see today, they're really the result of that long search.
So, we've pretty much mastered typing and touching. What's the next frontier? Well, the future of imports seems to be less about the things we do and more about who we are. We're talking about devices that can understand a simple gesture, follow our gaze, and maybe even read our thoughts.
I mean, just imagine a world where your fingerprint is your key to everything, where you can control your tech with just a wave of your hand, or where your computer knows what you're looking at before you even click. And this isn't science fiction anymore. This is the next wave. We're talking biometrics, gesture control, eye tracking, and the big one, brain-computer interfaces.
A brain-computer interface, or BCI, is, well, it's the final frontier of input. It's the ultimate direct connection. By reading the tiny electrical signals your brain produces, a BCI can translate your thoughts directly into commands on a computer. This could completely change everything, and it's happening faster than you might think.
So as that line between us and our machines gets blurrier and blurrier, it leaves us with this huge, profound question. When our devices can understand a gesture, a glance, or even a thought, what are we going to ask them to do? The future of how we interact with technology is literally in our hands and, well, in our minds. The real question is, what are we going to build with it?